All right, well, welcome. We have been blessed to have Mr. Simmons back in our building leading the charge. I am going to skip maybe a couple here and then go back. I want to introduce the counseling team. My name is Greg Davidson. I serve as the Department Chair, Director of Guidance, and I have a small part of the alphabet there. And then we will start with Mr. Cutter. And then you can see your part of the alphabet in your counselor split. So that's Mr. Cutter, Mrs. Flake, Mr. Poyer, Mrs. Harris, in the back, Mr. Pletcher, and I skipped ahead, Mr. Harney, and Mrs. Gray, and Mr. Zeller. So many of us have been working together for 20 plus years, and then we brought in Mrs. Harris this year, who has many years of experience. So we are very excited to welcome our 8th graders for their freshman year next year. After this first 15 minutes or so, you will break out and have a little bit more intimate time with your counselor to be able to ask some questions. We will have some of our student ambassadors walk you to their locations. That is also in your booklet here. There is one change. Mrs. Harris, it is listed in here to go to the LGI, but there was a situation where we lost the LGI room tonight, and so Mrs. Harris and Mr. Harney will stay in here. So I'll let the counselors head out to their locations to get ready. And all right, one of the things that you will see as far as the scheduling meetings with the incoming freshmen, we meet with you guys a little bit later. The junior highs set up your appointment times, so we counselors don't even know what those times are. So if they set a time that you need to change, you need to contact the junior high counselors to be able to negotiate a different time. And we are on a pretty strict timeline. We schedule every day starting Tuesday of next week all the way through March, and we only miss one day, and that one day we're actually giving the SAT to all of our juniors here in the building. So we are scheduling every day until March. And this is a little slow, or very slow. All right, what takes place in your scheduling meeting? We are looking at the 8th grade and 7th grade grades that your student had. Okay, we're trying to get a picture because we hadn't had them in our building, so we're looking at their grades and the classes that they have taken. We're also looking at the recommendations that the junior high teachers have put in the system. And then we're obviously looking at the parent input and some of the goals that they might have. Not every 13, 14, 15-year-old knows exactly what they want to be when they grow up. But some of them have a vision, and some of them want to start in some of our programs to test the water, and so do we. And so we want to start them in a place if they have that vision. So there'll be some of that. We also look at their strengths and their interest. What interest that they have academically and potentially for career and next steps. And then one of the things that we counselors have learned over the years is a work-life balance, and that also happens with our student population as well. We need to make sure that they're having the strongest rigor and the strongest classes that they're capable of attaining high standards without being overwhelmed, without being totally stressed that they're miserable and then they're underachieving because they've taken on too much And that might account for, if they're in extracurricular activities and then the time management. So we certainly want to challenge them, but we also want to make sure that they're able to handle the load. Semester grades is going to be a new thing now. Anything from the past doesn't really count. It all starts now at the high school with a permanent transcript. We don't have grades or anything that happen until the semester, okay? And that semester, I'm going to pause this. Because it was kind of going ahead. Credits are earned for every class that you take. So PE, English, foreign language, every class you earn credits. And we'll go over here in a second between Core 40 and academic honors and how many credits that you possibly need by the time you graduate. There are certain required classes within Core 40 or academic honors that we are following that the students have to take, and then the rest become electives. And a lot of questions we get is, what constitute elective? Any class on top of the mandatory classes become electives, and any class outside of core curriculum would count as an elective. So if there's only 6 credits of social studies that are required, if they take a 7th or 8th, those become electives. Or if they take something in our family consumer sciences, those would become electives, okay? We have credit recovery systems for students when they don't achieve the grade we get a D or an F potentially. We use summer school, but we also have a credit recovery program within our school to try to reach those standards back up or replace those grades. We will not replace, or you cannot retake a class for anything higher than that D+. So a C- and up, you cannot replace. All right. So here's how you would access the course information. You go to our high school website, go to the counseling. You see scroll down into the course guide and diplomas, and that kind of shows you also the Core 40, the academic honors, all the course selections for all of our classes, freshmen through seniors, and what offerings that we have for them. We've also put in a 4-year plan and a scheduling sheet that you could print out. And you're more than welcome to bring out that scheduling sheet to our meetings. But we're asking also for you to input your schedule on the Skyward system that we'll talk about here at the end. What you'll see here on the info guide is there'll be a class name, but then also a synopsis of what that class entails. And at the bottom of each section, there'll be requirements or recommendation. If it says a requirement, you have to have taken that class. Perfect example is our engineering, our project Lead the Way in Engineering for our freshmen. The prerequisite or requirement is that they had algebra in 8th grade. So if they wouldn't have taken algebra in 8th grade, then they have to wait and start project Lead the Way their sophomore year. Okay, so just look at what those requirements. If it's a recommendation, we're making sure that they know what that means and are going to be able to achieve into that class. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the difference between Core 40 and academic honors. Maybe. All right, Core 40, you need 4 years of English, 3 years of math that gets to the Algebra 2 level, 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, that is a world history or geography as a freshman or sophomore, U.S. history, junior, potentially sophomore year if they do AP or ACP, and then government and economics. PE, 2 semesters, one of those needing to be live in the building, and I'll kind of talk about that again here in a second. 1 health credit, health and wellness, 1 business credit, and then your electives, so it equals 42. It's core 40, so why is there 42 credits? And that is because Hamilton Southeastern or a school decision can require other classes on top of what the state standards are. We require the business credit and an extra elective equaling the 42. Academic honors are all of those requirements plus an additional year of math. So you have to have 8 credits of math. The English is the same, the science is the same, the social studies is the same, PE and health and the business credit. But it also adds 2 credits of fine arts, and there's many ways: choir, band, orchestra, the drawing classes, the 3D and 2D art classes, some classes in our family consumer science, and then a couple other classes that are in there. So as you read some of the synopsis of the classes, sometimes in there it'll say will also count towards academic honors fine arts credit. But then there's also a world language component. 2 years of one language and 2 years of another, or 3 years of just one language. Right now, we have French, German, Spanish, and then 2 years of sign language, but we are adding, not for next year, but the year after, so your group, this would apply, we will be adding a 3rd year of foreign language, so you would be able, or American Sign Language, excuse me, and so with American Sign Language ASL, you could get your 3 years with that language in the coming years. There is also a GPA requirement of 3.0. Okay, and that's when they graduate. So if they fall under that in their junior year, they can get back to that requirement by the time they graduate. And then there's one last component, and that is either 4 semesters of AP or 2 semesters of AP with 1 dual credit class or 2 dual credit classes. Okay. So all that's a lot of information. It's on our website. We have it also on the students' Canvas page that they'll have shortly. But know that us counselors have a working sheet that we know your students every time we schedule with them, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and we're educating them on these are the classes that you're going to need to take in the next couple years. And here's what we're taking now so you can kind of see that picture, okay? So we're continually working with them on that so that they know. There is another way to get your honors diploma without taking the AP or dual credit, and that's to get a certain score on the ACT or SAT, but a majority of our students, and we're between 55 to 60%, that would be academic honors by the time that they graduate, and most of them are getting it through the dual credit or the AP classes. Then the state has gone away from ISTEP, and they have what's called graduation pathways. So there's 3 components, and they call it Box 1, Box 2, Box 3. And Box 1 is just that you get your diploma, Core 40 or academic honors. 2, that you demonstrate employability skills, and then 3 is to meet a post-secondary readiness competency. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more. So again, Box 1, just earn your diploma. 2, there's a project that our biology students do that is a project-based, and that would count for that right there. Service would be a club or organization that have a service component, and including our athletics. So if you're an athlete in the building, that would be service. And then work-based, if you have a job and show 75 to 80 hours worth of work and document that, then we can use that. Plus, there's some classes that go into the work-based learning and the project-based learning that we would have in our curriculum that would count for box 2. And then box 3, if you get the academic honors degree, it fills box 1 and box 3. But another way is to get a certain SAT score. Again, I talked about March 2nd. All of our juniors in the building will be taking that SAT. So if they get that score, then they would get box 3. We have a score with the ACT for those students that aren't able to meet those standards and are also on Core 40 and fell off of the honors diploma. We provide the ASVAB once in the fall and once in the spring to get a score there. And then if you take 3 dual credit or AP classes and maintain a C average with those 3 classes, could also get box 3. And we also are tracking that for your students, okay? And we meet heavily with our juniors and seniors to make sure that everybody is on track to be able to graduate. We want them to graduate as much as you guys do. That PE requirement that I said I was going to come back to, 1 PE must be live in the building, okay? That's in a class in their freshman or sophomore year. Worst case scenario, junior, because we don't allow seniors to be in our PE. So if they haven't taken a PE by their sophomore year, it will be on their junior schedule, okay, which is taking away some classes that they probably wanted to take. So we want to get their PE done by their end of their sophomore year. We have a live PE here in the building. That counts as your live PE because it's here in our building taught by our PE teachers. I believe those applications are available to you to be able to sign up, but they do fill. You can see here that is going to be May 25th through June 15th, and you can it's 7:30 to 12:30 every day, and you can only miss 2 days, okay? So just kind of know some of that information. That'll be on that sheet. And then if you play a sport, then you can sign up for alternative PE credit. And then also online over the summer is another way to get that second PE credit. When we talk about summer school online, we'll have those sheets available to you when we meet. Or have some of these on the Canvas page that isn't been created for this class as of yet. We're waiting for all of the 8th graders to be shifted over into our Skyward system, and once that's created, we will create a Canvas page for you to be able to come on our website and see some of these things. But online summer school is free. So maybe you want to get ahead of a class. You're taking so many classes. You're like, well, how would I get a health credit, or how would I get that second PE? An online option would be available for you to be able to take those. There is a registration deadline. It will start after spring break, and it closes like June 5th because the classes start then June 5th and go through July 16th. So this is something that we will get out to the junior highs. I don't expect you guys to memorize all this right now, but we are asking for our students to enter their schedules on Skyward, okay? So they will enter their classes that they are going to take as a freshman. Then when we meet with you, we can make changes. Or if you're not sure of a class and you want to wait and talk to a counselor, we can certainly wait, and we'll add those classes for you. And then we can kind of sit with that, and then we can make changes all the way until May 1st. But May 1st then is a deadline that we will hold firm, and we won't be able to make changes after that. Why is that? Because we are hiring the teachers, and we are building a master schedule for the whole next year based on what our freshmen through seniors did as far as their curriculum choice. So therefore, we don't make changes after that because then it unbalances our whole master schedule to the point where sometimes we've had to hire teachers differently if we would allow that. And there will be some circumstances every once in a while, maybe in the first semester, if they don't do as well as we needed them to do in a year-long class, and the teacher and the counselor and the parent and the student are all in agreement to maybe make a change in that second semester. But that whole, hey, I signed up for underwater basket weaving and I just don't want to take that anymore. No, we do not have that class. And we would say, I'm sorry, you already signed up for that, and we can't make that change. Now, there are a couple exceptions. One exception is you feel overloaded, you don't have a study hall, we will allow you to drop an elective for a study hall to kind of reduce your schedule. Or if we feel that you are academically misplaced and you just can't handle that load, then the counselor can take that into consideration and make a change, okay? So there are just a couple instances, but it's not because we changed our mind. So that's why we really want you to look at our curriculum. We want you to look at the classes that we have to offer and really make choices that, A, part of a career path, part of an interest, part of a strength, and then maybe get a lot of the classes out of the way so that even more electives and more class choices open sophomore year, and then the whole book pretty much opens to them as juniors. You want to make sure that PE and business and health are kind of out of the way, so that way when these cool new classes come in junior and senior year, they didn't have to miss out on an opportunity because they still had a health class to take, if that makes sense. So, all right.